So this is on trail day 108. It's Monday, October 12th of 2020. And the Cooper Brook Falls lean-to I stayed the night at. There on my thermarest. And there's a thermometer. I don't know if you can see. It's done warmed up to like 32 or something, but it got pretty cold last night. I got my puffy jacket on. Been wearing my mittens. Got the hoodie on underneath. But the sun's coming up, it's starting to warm up. I'm about packed up and ready to get on the trail. And it's just a few minutes after 9, so I'm gonna get a good day in today. And we'll see what there is to see between here and the end of the day. I'm leaving the shelter. I'll come down for one last look at this waterfall. Get it in the daylight since it was starting to get dark last night. It's a pretty cascade. I woke up about 3 o'clock this morning. I could hear it. It was cold, and I was wondering. I was like, "Why is the air conditioning on?" And I was like, "Wait a minute. That's a waterfall." It's got a nice deep pool, though. It'd be nice in the summertime, but not today. So I'm about a mile or so north of the shelter. I just couldn't ask for better terrain. Should definitely be able to bust out a 20-mile day today. By dark or close to it, I hope. I think there's one very small hill. I don't even think it had a name. It was like a couple 100 feet. It's a gradual up over. It's like 7 miles in. It's almost like the AT designers are like, well, you've been through enough if you've made it this far. We'll go easy on you before throwing Katahdin in your way. It's still cold in my fingers and my toes. I'm just now starting to get some feeling in them. That's the price you pay for being in Maine in October. I'm going to cross Joe Mary Road in a couple of miles. And that's where the hostel had originally set up the food drop for Saturday at 2 o'clock. And then I called and had them bring it a day early to Katahdin Ironworks Road. But here it is Monday, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I still hadn't made it to Joe Mary Road. So I'm a little slower than the average thru hiker, but that's alright. I'm still getting there, and that's all that counts. Sunshine. The only problem is I'll have to stop and take my hoodie off if it heats up. Which that's not a problem until shortly after you go back in the shaded area and you're cold again. It's interesting, you go through, depending on your elevation, your forest with no leaves, forest with changing leaves. Then you go through evergreen forests. And you can go through those changes multiple times a day. Up until this point, Vermont was on my list as probably my favorite state that I had hiked through. But I think Maine has taken the #1 spot on that list. It's had some tough terrain, it's had some nice terrain, beautiful views. But we still have states to go through, so. We've gone from a hardwood forest to an evergreen forest. We have had a few spots of rocks and stuff. Slowed it down a little, but the grade stays nice. I think I've had 2 tree blowdowns when I was packing stuff up this morning. Had a ton of evergreen needles fall out of the mesh stuff pocket on the outside of my pack where I keep my tarp. And my tarp is sil poly, and I have it in a set of sil nylon snake skins, and then I stuff it in the sil poly bag that Jared from Simply Light Designs made. The sil poly bag had a bunch of holes, probably where I scraped a limb going under a blowdown. I didn't take the tarp out and look at it. I know the snake skins, being sil nylons, a little bit more abrasion resistant, so hopefully my tarp didn't get damaged in any way. If it did, it's just minor because the little holes in the bag's not that bad. So. But I'll probably pick up, because when I get to Katahdin, I'm going to have to go by and REI, get a new pair of Chacos. The tread's worn out on these almost. Get a new compression stuff sack for my sleeping bag, since I wore holes in that. And I'll probably get like a little sil nylon bag or something to stuff my tarp in. A lot of wear and tear on gear out here, but I've been fortunate so far. The few things that have had issues have been very minor. And some of them was just a careless, like yanking too hard to get my sleeping bag out. Is what tore the holes in my compression bag, I'm pretty sure. You abuse it, you lose it, they say. I can't imagine the southbounder coming off Katahdin and getting 50 miles of this and then hitting all the stuff in southern Maine and New Hampshire. No trail legs at all. I believe this is Joe Mary Road. This is probably the same creek I camped by last night. I've just been following along pretty close to it most of the day. There's a really nice camp spot right back in there. So it's 12 o'clock on Monday. I'm almost 48 hours behind from my resupply. I would have had to go a day with no food. Oh well, it worked out. I cannot even pronounce that. Pado Wajo, I don't know. I sound like an idiot trying, I'm sure. So that was the shelter that I had thought about going to yesterday. I was going to hike after dark, but man, when the sun went down, it got cold. That's alright. There was a guy back at the hostel that I stayed at last. Oh, I can't even remember the name of it in Monson. I just stayed there for the night. The one that brought the resupply. But anyway, I was talking about I wanted to get to Katahdin by the 15th. And he was like, well, don't be in a rush. I mean, you get there on the 15th, maybe the 16th is a better day to summit. But as it's looking in the weather forecast, 15th is the better day. It's supposed to rain the 14th and then rain again 16th and 17th. So. Being at the Birches for the night of the 14th is still my goal. A lot of times I don't meet the goal, but just like the ferry at the Kennebec, I got there in time, so I have no doubt that I will get to Katahdin in time. But that mountain has been standing there for millennia, just waiting for the day I come to summit it. So even if by chance it closes before I get there, I'll come back in the springtime. As always, have a plan B. But I'm confident that I'll get to the top in just a few days. So the thing about taking a snack break, I've been 5.5 miles almost, and there was this pile of boards here for creating those wooden walkways. It looks like a nice place to park my butt. I stopped a little ways ago, had cell service, texted the wife, but I'm going to take a break. Averaging about 3 miles an hour, not bad. Well, the trail's going by this small pond. I'm assuming it's probably a beaver pond, but I don't know. It could be natural. There's a river flowing into it from there. The sun feels nice. It's still kind of cold. I haven't taken my hoodie off since I started, so. That's alright. I still prefer this over that 90+ degree stuff I had in New York. The squirrels in Maine are so interactive. I have no idea what he's saying. I'm sure it's not nice. Yeah, they'll sit on like rocks and stuff, and they'll let out this song, tell the whole forest that you're coming. A lot of times I'll know there's another hiker ahead of me or something, just from listening to the squirrels. Here's another road. Just remember the sign when we entered the 100-mile wilderness. And for the next 100 miles, there's no way in or out, etc., etc. And you come across maintained roads and railroad tracks. Hostels that resupply you in the middle. I have this little creek crossing. Somebody was nice enough to put a rope, give you something to hang on to. It's not much today, but I'm sure at times like in the spring snow melt, it can get pretty rough. Seems like a nice climbing rope. Got a nice bench, but it's not break time, so. Yeah, squirrels. Everybody needs to know I'm here. Thank you. You're doing a good job. Discharge from a lake. It does not appear to be a beaver dam. So this is the Antlers campsite on the side of Lake Joe Mary. Looks like a nice camp spot. A decent fire pit. A beautiful view of the lake. So this is another view of Lake Joe Mary. Originally we was around up at that bend over there. And the trail just follows right here by the bank on this side. And then it's going to kind of go cross country and meet up with another lake. Have 13 miles left of the day. It's 2:30. So if it had stayed as cruisy as it was this morning, we may have gotten there before dark. But terrain like this kind of slows one down a little. But that's alright. It gets darker earlier every day, so and it is supposed to start raining around 2 a.m. and rain all day tomorrow. So I'm probably going to be hiking in the rain all day. When I stop tonight, I'll be 38 miles from the wooden sign on top of Katahdin. I'll stop tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be 9 miles. Although it was showing rain on Thursday and Friday, and now it's just showing a slight chance on Friday. So depending on the food and self-service to get weather updates, I may take a 0 in the shelter and summit on the 16th. Just have to play it by ear. No point in walking miserable in the rain all day if you don't need to, right? This has been a dry year, so fortunately I've been able to do that, avoid the rain. If it was a wet year, then I just have to suck it up and hike a lot in the rain. So I'm over the climb for the day. It was very short and not much of a climb. I was noticing I was going uphill and checked skyhooks to see where I was at in relation to it. I was almost to the top. It was just getting warm enough, this thing about taking my hoodie off. And so when I got over, started down again, the sun's all blocked out. It started getting chilly, so this thing I kept it on. I thought we were done with the boulders for a minute, but not quite. There'll be a shelter not too far up here. If it's right off the trail, I may stop and have a snack. I emptied my one water bottle, so I need to transfer the other one over so I can get to it. Two quarts. Now that it's cooler, it's lasting all day, but I still leave camp with 2 quarts, and I just don't ever have to stop and filter any during the day. I know a lot of people wouldn't carry it, they would just stop and filter, but walk a little bit slower due to the weight, or stop regular, whichever, all equals about the same, I guess. This whole, I don't know, probably the last 3/4 mile has been following right along this evergreen forest. So we're walking in the hardwood forest that parallels the evergreen forest. So this is a shelter, however you pronounce that. Pretty typical, right off the trail. Then it has a new privy up there right beside the old privy. So I'm going to take a quick break here and get started back. So I'm leaving the shelter. There's a old privy and the new one. It's quite funny, all these new ones are ADA compliant with wheelchair ramps, the steel bars. I mean, handicapped people should have access, I guess. There was an 8-ounce fuel canister at that shelter. It was practically full. I have probably enough. I have an 8-ounce one I bought at the hostel in Maine. It's getting almost empty. And then I have a 4-ounce canister that's about half empty that I carry kind of as my backup in case the other one goes empty. Considering I'll be at Baxter State Park in a day or so with access to garbage. And it is colder weather, so if my big can runs out, I can throw it away and I don't have to buy more for, I don't know, a week or two into Virginia. I eat 4 ounces of Cheez-Its and drink half a liter or a quart of water, so I guess I can afford to put a 6 ounces worth of fuel in my pack. I've got a little over 10 miles to go, and it's 4 o'clock, so it'll be dark in an hour and a half. Maybe we can knock out 3 or so of those before dark. Yeah, 11.3 miles so far today. I guess this is the water source for the shelter. I'm planning on going to Wadley Stream Lean-To, so 10.1 miles. So I got 8.1 miles to go. It's 4:40. I don't remember what time it was when I left that shelter. I had 10 miles in. Making good time. I may only have to do about 4 or 5 miles after dark. It's been rain all day for the most part. It's just been awesome. And tomorrow there's a small mountain I have to go over at the start of the day. Maybe another little spot of terrain, but not much. Had a good many of those walkboards today. They kind of slow you down a little too, but not as much as prancing around the mud and rocks would. You couldn't ask for a better trail to get some miles in at the end of the day than this. I mean, this is just perfect. Following right along the stream. There's rocks and roots, but they're minimal. It's just been a great day in Maine. This is kind of an odd sight. You never know what they're going to put on the trail. We're 6 miles from the destination shelter, and it's almost 5:30. It's strange. But there is that rip. I don't know, maybe they floated it down. Who knows? If the terrain stays like this, we should be able to knock like another 1.5 miles out before it gets dark. The second shelter we're going to pass for the day is coming up not too far, so we'll check it out when we get there, if it's all close to the trail. So that shelter was off a side trail. It wasn't too far. I could see the roof, but it's far enough. Trying to get all the miles in I can before dark. Got 5.5 left. And it's 5:40, so decent little camp spot. Somebody left their clothesline with their sock on it. Hopefully I can do another 1.5 miles, something like that, before dark. As long as it don't turn into rocks and roots. Which would not surprise me. So it's dark enough now for the headlamp. It's still following along this creek. And of course it's all rocky and rooty. But it's only 4 miles left to go, so it's 6:20. So we should still be in camp. Had a good time. And I still hadn't decided whether I want to try hiking in the rain tomorrow or zero at the shelter. I guess I'll decide that, depending on the weather. Since Wednesday and Thursday are both looking good. I don't know, can't plan too far in advance.